through the end of the week. Highs range from the 70s at the coast to the 90s and lower 100s inland. Highs will be mainly in the 70s and 80s from Montana to Arizona and New Mexico. And that, my friends, is a look at the weather forecast for this Tuesday. Still to come, we'll have a look at market information in just a moment, as well as Today in History and celebrity birthdays coming up next. You're listening to First Cup, and I'm your host, Joe Haffner.
I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Well, I suppose I could say I told you so, but I guess this is no time to be rubbing it in.
It's not acceptable to call me a nigger.
It's not acceptable to call me a spick.
To call me a chink.
To call me a fag.
It's not acceptable to call me a kike.
It's not acceptable to call me a retard or call yourself or your friends retarded when they do something foolish.
The R word is the same as every minority slur. Treat it that way and don't use it.
Spread the word to end the word.
Hey, what's up? Holla at ya, boy. XOXOXO. You getting these texts? Question mark. Where are you? What are you doing? OMG, you are making me mad. You better text me back. I'm waiting outside your house.
Relentless, aggressive texting is like sending an angry robot to deliver your message. When does the robot become dangerous? Let us know at that'snotcool.com.
That'snotcool.com.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Studio 26 on this Tuesday morning, 10th day of September 2013. Yours truly, Joe Haffner, here at the controls. And what do you say we take a look at celebrity birthdays? Not very many to pass along for today, but still significant nonetheless. We'll do it right after Seinfeld, though.
Damn it, Jim, what the hell's the matter with you? Other people have birthdays. Why are we treating yours like a funeral?
Bones, that ought to be lectured.
Ooh, yeah. Very, very many happy reasons.
And before we get into celebrity birthdays on this Tuesday morning, if you're celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday. TV talker and author Bill O'Reilly turns 64 today. Bill O'Reilly, you said? Yeah, this Bill O'Reilly.
Always check out the facts before you make a definitive statement. And when you make a mistake, admit it.
Keep in mind, the whole time he was saying that, he was pointing his pen at you. I don't like that. Other birthdays today include Colin Firth is 53. Ryan Phillip is 39. Remember him from Breach, Cruel Intentions, and The Lincoln Lawyer? Yeah, turns 39 today. And those are the celebrity birthdays. Told you there weren't very many for today. And again, if you're celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday. Well, speaking of birthdays, what do you say we go back in time? And time for Today in History. So let's get in the car, everybody. Stop the music first, though. And we'll have more of Today in History in just a moment from the good folks at the Associated Press. On this day in 1875, though, September 10th, 1875, the American Forestry Association was formed in Chicago, Illinois. That's right, the American Forestry Association formed on this date in 1875 in Chicago. And I must say for the record, they've done one heck of a job preserving the forest in Chicago over the years. It's time for the rest of Today in History. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Elliot Morgan, and this is
Today in History.
September 10th in history. Nirvana's hit single Smells Like Teen Spirit is released in 1991. 20 African-American students integrate an all-white Alabama high school in 1963. And the first ever sub-Saharan Olympian takes home a gold medal after winning a marathon in his bare feet in 1960. But in 1897, a taxi driver becomes the first ever person to be arrested for drunk driving after slamming his car into a building. While the United States holds the title for earliest laws against drunk driving, the honor of first person to try them out goes to 25-year-old George Smith of London Town. So how did they know he was actually drunk? Well, police officers were able to derive that Smith was drunk due to his drunken actions and, the fact that he admitted that he was drunk, probably mostly the latter. Smith pled guilty and was fined 25 shillings, which in today's prices would be like 120 euros or $158. We got you back, Europe. What's up? But had George Smith not admitted to being drunk, it would have been hard to legally prove his intoxication, and there wasn't a financial viable method of testing alcohol consumption levels until 1931, when a toxicologist and Indiana University professor created a drunkometer. No joke, that's what they named it. Go Hoosier. The drunkometer worked effectively by blowing into a balloon that was then attached to a tube filled with a purple fluid that would turn yellow if there was alcohol in the breath. And it wasn't until 1954 when another Indianan invented the breathalyzer. That was much more portable than the drunk science kit and became the standard equipment in every police car. So, learn from George Smith, don't drive drunk ever. That's a very dangerous thing to do, and that is what happened today in history.
2 weeks from tonight, my friends, the new season of NCIS on CBS television. Boy, I can't believe I let this gym slip by me for so many years. I started watching it about 5 years ago, and I'm hooked on it. Great show. Great show with great writing, great cast. Of course, what can you expect from Belisarius? I mean, the guy created Quantum Leap, Magnum P.I., Airwolf, just to name a few. Anyway, we're on the case here, my friends. Speaking of being on the case, it's time for market information on this Tuesday morning. And let's head on down to Market Street and find out what's going on. Start off by looking at yesterday's numbers. Stocks ended higher yesterday as concerns about what might transpire in Syria have ebbed, for the time being at least. The market, which had been trading higher all day, rallied further after Secretary of State John Kerry made comments to ease the situation. The Dow Jones Industrials added nearly 140 points. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ reach up about 1%. These indices are up between 15 and 23% respectively for the year. U.S. stocks managed to eke out gains last week despite a weaker-than-expected jobs report on Friday. Hiring continued in August, but at a slower pace, which may signal the Federal Reserve to stand pat on its bond buying program when it meets next week. The Fed has been consistently saying it will not begin tapering until it sees marked improvement in the labor market. What is moving? Well, Smithfield Foods and China's Shanghai International announced after the closing bell Friday that U.S. regulators had cleared Shanghai's proposed acquisition of the American meat processor. By the way, Smithfield's is a major competitor of my place of employment. And let's see what else we have for you on this Tuesday. Dell shares rose slightly after activist hedge fund manager Carl Icahn said he was giving up his fight for control of the computer maker. That could make it easier for founder Michael Dell and investment firm Silver Lake to take the company private. Traders on StockTwits thanked Icahn for playing and invited speculation on what Icahn could possibly jump into next. possibly BlackBerry, to save the smartphone manufacturer. And speaking of BlackBerry, shares rose on reports that its largest investor could be considering a buyout of the struggling smartphone company. Facebook moved slightly higher yesterday, but failed to exceed its all-time high of $45 a share. And that's a brief summary of market information. And while we step aside here and get ready for the CBS World News Roundup coming up in just a moment, what do you say we switch things over to the APM and get the morning market report? We'll do that right now on this edition of First Cup. I'm your host, Joe Haffner.
The biggest of command economies seems to be responding to commands. From APM in New York, I'm David Brancaccio with the global perspective on business and economics. Slow but steady job creation in the U.S. Institutional investors pouring money into European stocks as the euro crisis appears to bottom out. And now, part of the global economic recovery trifecta, vital signs improving in China, according to new data today covering retail sales, factory output, and investment during the summer. Sean Ryan, Managing Director of the China Market Research Group, joins us from Shanghai to talk about this. Thanks for taking the call, Mr. Ryan.
It's great to be here, David.
As Chinese economic planners try to redirect the Chinese economy away from so much of a reliance on the export economy and more toward consumers shouldering some of the quote-unquote burden, this appears to be working at some level.
It is working. It's not an easy transition. Over the last decade, heavy investment has accounted for about 50% of overall GDP growth, while consumption has only accounted for about a third of the economy versus 70% in the United States. So in order to create a more sustainable, healthy economy, maybe a little bit less pollution with better jobs for Chinese workers, the government is really trying to put a shift more towards services and consumption. And that's what you're starting to see in the numbers in the last few months. Retail sales have grown 13.4%, but you're also seeing less reliance on loans and fixed asset investment in order to pump sales.
And when you mention pollution, you're not speaking metaphorically. You're speaking about actual gray stuff in the sky as you shift toward the more service-oriented pieces of the economy, maybe a little less stuff coming out the smokestacks.
The biggest fear or frustration in life today is the pollution levels in China. A lot of consumers are saying, who cares if I have a great job? Who cares if I can buy a Louis Vuitton bag if the air and water is killing my family? Pollution is the biggest problem that's facing China's government today, and they really need to do a better crackdown on it. Otherwise, they're going to face serious social instability going forward, David.
Sean Ryan, Managing Director of China Market Research Group in Shanghai. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now let's check in with the numbers. After that strong economic data from China, the key stock index in Shanghai went up 1.1%. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong rose about 1%. The FT100 in London is up 0.75%, but the DAX in Germany is up 1.75%. Stock index futures for the U.S. are up robustly at the moment, at least, with the possibility, at least, that Syria might agree to get rid of its chemical weapons. The price of crude oil is falling. It's down $1 to 108.47 right now per barrel. Some items now from our Business of Media file. We have the publisher of Politico buying the news website Capital New York. Publisher Robert Albritton plans to bring Politico's successful business model to the big metropolis. Politico's formula involves ads, subscriptions, and focusing on the most influential readers in some key subject areas. In the case of Politico, it's politics. In New York, it might be finance, media, and politics. Terms of the deal have not been disclosed. And published reports suggest that Time Inc. wants to buy a pile of magazines currently owned by American Express. This would include Food and Wine, Travel and Leisure are among the titles.
Looking for a good read? Visit the Big Book blog at marketplace.org. Listen to author interviews and read excerpts from the Marketplace bookshelf. Online at marketplace.org/thebigbook.
Call it the cash burning a hole in the pocket syndrome. American companies that earned money overseas looking for ways to spend it. This way they have a write-off so they won't have to pay American taxes. This may help explain Microsoft buying much of Nokia of Finland in recent days for more than $7 billion, as we've been reporting. And we thought it was all about buying the ability to make telephone handsets, but perhaps not. Alan Sloan is senior editor-at-large at Fortune magazine. Morning, Alan.
Good morning, David.
So I was writing those